Hey folks, welcome back to Green Aaron TV. So, down in the garage working on a few bits and pieces, and I'm going to address one of the things I get asked quite a bit, and that is, how do you keep up and do maintenance on all these Army vehicles? What's it like to have to do maintenance? So, sit back, and that's what we're going to work on here. So we're just going to show you how easy it is to work on these old military vehicles. So, thanks a lot for watching. Like always, remember, give us a like, leave a comment. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. And please, check out the link down below for all the cool stuff in our merch store. So the Green Aaron TV merch store. We got cool t-shirts like this 715 t-shirt, hats, sweatshirts, all kinds of cool shirts. So check those out and help support the channel. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot. So one of the things I'm often asked is, hey, are you some kind of, mechanic, or, do you work in the mechanic industry and stuff like that? And no, I'm not. I'm just an average guy working in my garage. I have nothing special as far as tools. I have your basic hand tools. I don't have some, $1 million Snap-on toolbox set that's got every gadget and gizmo. Basic hand tools. So that's the joy of working with these old military vehicles. Is that's all you really need is a good set of basic hand tools. You have to remember that military vehicles are designed to be easy to maintain and to be maintained with minimal amount of tools. You got to remember, so in the military, if you're out in the field, and something happens to the vehicle, you need to be able to fix it fairly quickly, get it up, get it running, get it functioning without very much trouble and without a whole lot of tools, and also without a whole lot of knowledge. So you got to remember, your basic GI was, knew how to do some basic things. And of course, the old saying, the old farm boy ingenuity, allowed soldiers to, keep things running in the field. And of course, you always did have your motor pools and so forth like that for more high-end stuff, more heavier maintenance of stuff. But, and even those guys, basic tools, nothing special. So, but probably the number one tool and the thing I see people struggle with all the time online and in the message forums and chat rooms and stuff like that is, they ask all these tons of questions about how do I do this or how do I do that or whatever. And often the answer is get the manuals. All the military vehicles, they all have series of manuals dedicated to how to fix them, how to work on them, how to maintain them. And a lot of times it's pretty easy to find hard copies. For all of my vehicles, I have, at the flea market, the military flea markets and swap meets, searched around and found all the necessary hard copy manuals for my vehicles. But beyond that, there are a ton of online resources. There are a ton of the places that have the online manuals, have them, scanned in as a PDF, and allow you to go in and read them and look at them and print out a page so that you can go down to the garage and work on it and hold it up next to it and figure it out. So, there's a ton of that information out there. Use it. Use your Google foo, man, and hit some searches. That's the thing that kind of annoys me the most, I think, in today's culture is everybody wants an instant answer, but they don't want to do the work of searching for it. So before you ask that simple question, search for it. Go find the manuals. Look them up. Figure out, hey, is that where that goes? Is that how that fits? So here I have the group of manuals, or the main group of manuals for the M715 and the 725 ambulance. And of course, the easiest way to break these down a little bit. So, of course, this manual here. So this is what's known as your dash 20. By the on the end there, the dash 20 of the sequence. So this is the manual number, technical manual 923202442. So that, that number right there is a reference to this manual. So when guys online or something say, hey, check the dash 20 or check the dash 34, that's what they're talking about, is this last two numbers, the dash at the end. And so this is your basic manual here. So this is your basic organizational maintenance manual. And this is what your average, motor pool would have, and is going to be your basic maintenance. Nothing crazy, but this is going to have all your basic stuff. So stuff like how to change the oil, how to service the air filter, fuel lines run from where and connect into where vent lines, electrical switches, stuff like that. All the basic stuff covered in your dash 20. Now, say you need to get a little further into things and you need to take the motor apart or pull the gears out of the transmission. Then you want to step up to the next manual, and that's your dash 34. So this manual, it's the same preference numbers, the TM 923202442-34. So the 34 is the direct support manual for the maintenance, and this is going to cover the more technical stuff like how to rebuild the transmission, how to service pistons, how to set the piston ring gaps, all kinds of stuff like that, how to rebuild the starter. So all that really, really mechanical, technical stuff, how to install a differential, how to measure the lash, do all that type of stuff. So all that information is in these books. So like I said, so the dash 20 is your basic maintenance. Dash 34 is that little bit deeper dive into the more mechanical side of things. Like I said, disassembling the engine, the transmission, the differentials, the transfer case, all that heavy stuff. So that's all located in that book. And then of course, probably one of the most important books is what we call the 34P. And so what the P stands for, parts. So this is actually going to have a diagram and of every single part on this vehicle, and it's numbered, and then it will go into the tables, and it will match up to the picture, and it will tell you the part, how many it takes, specific things like that. And here's the most important, the federal stock ID number. It will give you that. So if you're searching for a part for your vehicle and you can't find it, well, go to your 34P, find it, and then find the federal stock number and search that number. You'd be surprised at how often you can find things searching for that using the federal stock number. A lot of the good military surplus websites will list their parts with the federal stock numbers. So that's all really, really good stuff. And like I said, that is probably the most important tool that anybody who has a historic military vehicle should have. You should definitely pick up a set of manuals. Like even here for the M38A1. So, here's one for the M38A1. Like I said, I have them for all the vehicles. I have them for the Deuce and a half. I got them for the M37. I even have the manual for my, it's known as an M51 10-man chemical nuclear biological protective shelter system. I'll show a little picture. It's kind of a unique, odd thing. But guess what? You can find the manual out there. So I have the manual for that piece, which shows how to inflate and operate everything that comes with that unit. So, like I said, that's the most important thing. So that's the best place to start with any of this, is looking in your manuals. So when you fly the hood on one of these vehicles, you're going to find a very simplistic motor setup. So, like I said, very simplistic and aimed to be very easy to work on. This is, of course, the 230 overhead cam motor that is in the M715. Probably a little bit more advanced of a motor because it is the overhead cam style versus the flathead that like the M38A1 Jeep and the M37 Dodge that those vehicles have. A little more complex, but still not very difficult to work on, especially doing any of the main maintenance or basic things. So, other than, your basic checking fluids and stuff like that, everything is laid out very simple, and it's very easy to get to everything. And of course, all your wiring has waterproof connectors. You have vent lines that are running everywhere to properly vent the transmission, transfer case, your differential housings, all that type of stuff. And one important thing to always remember with these vehicles is you have no fuses. So there are no fuses in these military vehicles. All the power runs actually through that main light switch on the dash. And that actually has a resettable breaker in it that automatically resets. So, if you're driving along and you hear it click and power goes out, you're going to wait a second or so, and then all of a sudden you're going to hear it click back in, and power's going to come back on. And of course, if then power pops right back out again, that's going to tell you got a short somewhere in the system, and you're shorting power to ground, and you're popping that resettable breaker. So it's designed to do that, to keep the vehicle safe, but it's also designed to be very simplistic. So the last thing you want to do if you're out in the middle of the battlefield somewhere and you're getting shot at, and all of a sudden you have a vehicle pop a fuse and you're fishing around trying to change fuses and stuff like that to get your butt out of there. Not a good idea. Nothing overly advanced with the motors. We have, of course, this one has an alternator. Of course, the 715 series, starting in the late 70s or late 60s, was one of the first vehicles to actually use an alternator instead of a generator. So the M38A1 and the M37 vehicles like that, they all have a generator, and this actually has an alternator. So there's a little bit of difference on how to hook it all up and how to service the batteries. You want to make sure you disconnect the batteries before servicing, stuff like that. No power steering, no power brakes. Very simplistic. You have a single master cylinder that is vented through the cap, and so you want to check your brake fluid all the time, make sure it's staying up. You have a basic fuel pump on this side, on this vehicle. Originally, it would also had the big canister to run the vacuum wipers, which was actually removed from this vehicle. And then, of course, our distributor with all the waterproof spark plugs and spark plug wires. This vehicle does have the heat system in it, so it does have a heater core and a blower. And of course your water lines running to and from the block to supply it with warm water. This one does have the carburetor mounted air cleaner. Later on these vehicles, when they added the governor underneath the carburetor to keep people from over revving these motors, that raised this too high to fit underneath the hood. So they went with a different style, which had an air horn, and then it had the big canister filter that mounted over here underneath the hood. So this is the original setup. So if you actually have one that has the big canister, that's going to tell me you have probably a late 68, 1969 version of the vehicle, and more than likely it has the governor underneath the carburetor to restrict a little bit of over rev. But nothing very intimidating in these. Very easy to work on, very easy to do with all your basic hand tools. Here we'll spin around here. Same with the M38A1. Same type concept, just a little bit smaller of a motor. This is just a little 4-cylinder. A little bit older of a design motor. So, like I said, this one does have a generator, which is on this side. Fuel pumps on this side. This one does have the vacuum still attached to it. Kind of unique on this vehicle, and well, a lot of the older vehicles. So this has a cartridge style oil filter up in this oil filter housing. And so you take this off and take that oil filter out of there, instead of like the 715, which has a standard automotive style screw-on oil filter. You have your basic air filter set up with the charge tube coming over to the top of the carburetor, and of course, like a lot of the older vehicles, it does have what's known as an oil bath air cleaner. So the air actually passes down and passes in through. You put oil in the bottom of that, and it helps circulate, and that's what filters the oil, or filters the dirt out of the air, is through that oil. So nice and simple. Once again, the whole keep it simple concept. That's easy to maintain. It doesn't need to be changed very often, unlike a regular automotive. So in dry, dusty conditions, you can let that run a whole lot longer than you can a standard paper filter in a standard automotive. Once again, same thing. Our waterproof spark plug wires. We've seen these before on when we've done some of the work on the vehicles. So these do have the waterproof caps, the thread down on, and help keep this waterproof seal on the motor. Like I said, just like in the 715, there is no fuse box. This M38A1 it does have the headlight switch, does run a lot of that through there, and it does have a couple other resettable relay underneath the dash. Same way with the M37, has a couple relays for things that are auto set. So if they trip, once they cool off, they'll close back up and reset themselves. So same type of thing as you walk around and you look at the body of the vehicle. Simplistic. Nothing is overly complicated. Everything is pretty self-explanatory as far as how it functions, how it works. Nothing overly exotic. Wheels are pretty simple to work with if you know what you're doing. You have simple controls, simple gauges. That's the whole idea and purpose behind these military vehicles, is to keep them simple. There's no need to have something overly complicated. It just doesn't serve the purpose properly for the way these military vehicles were used. If it's overly complicated, and let's face it, we all have new modern cars, and all the little trinkets and bells and whistles and all the stuff, and yes, those are very hard to maintain. Sometimes I swear you got to have a PhD in computer sciences just to be able to work on some of the new modern stuff. All this stuff, very basic design. Your M38A1, man, this thing's more like a little tractor than any other type of vehicle. Keep it simple. Nothing overly complicated to operate. Nothing overly complicated to work on. Taking the soft tops on and off. Simple straps and clips and bows makes these things easy to use. So, it's just smart for the Army to have more simplistic and basic items. It just makes it easier on everybody. That way you're not fussing with stuff. You're not having to double check this and that and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. So, I'm a big firm believer in the old keep it simple, stupid, the KISS method. And guess what? That's what's great about military vehicles. Well, folks, that's going to wrap up another quick episode here on Green Iron TV. We are finally starting to get down in the garage more and more to work on stuff. Fortunately, it's also that time of year where with springtime, it's so busy with so much going on. So I'll probably continue to putter around and do some of these little small things until we can kind of get everything mellowed out and running good. We'll be next big thing we'll be doing is starting to get things ready for Memorial Day. I know that's still a little bit away, but that'll be the chore. We'll be getting vehicles serviced and ready for Memorial Day parades. But I want to thank everybody for stopping by, and of course, please remember these vehicles are very, very easy and simple to work on. For Joe Average, with your basic hand tools, you can work on one of these. Follow the manuals, pick up the manuals, that's the important thing. Pick up the manuals and follow the manuals. They pretty much go through and show you step by step how to work on and fix and maintain and keep up with these vehicles. Like I've said, remember, these vehicles were made to be maintained by an 18-year-old kid in the field with a screwdriver, a crescent wrench, and a hammer. So, pretty easy to maintain and keep going. So, don't be too intimidated. It's not like any type of a modern car. There's no crazy electronics. It's pretty basic stuff. So if you have general basic maintenance and mechanical knowledge, you can do about anything on one of these vehicles. So, like always, I want to thank you for stopping by. Please take a moment to hit the like button, leave us a comment, tell us how you maintain your vehicles, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate all the followers out there. That way you can keep up with all our good Green Iron madness. And please check out the link in the description down below for the Green Iron merchandise store. There's the cool t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, all kinds of cool stuff. So take a moment, check that out, and we appreciate it. Any little bit of that we get back from the merchandise sales helps us keep going on with all the Green Iron. So have a good night, folks. Thanks.